Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your gender free news. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, we're going to have a bit of a serious discussion about what's happening in Hollywood today, okay? Particularly with Jenna Ortega. We're going to focus on Jenna Ortega, the star from Wednesday as well as Beetlejuice. It's been an eye-opening year in entertainment for Jenna Ortega, and if you have been paying attention, you've noticed something different or significant, especially with Jenna Ortega making waves. Now, the tides are turning, and it's about time. You see, Jenna Ortega represents a new generation of actors who are challenging the woke agenda that's plagued the industry for years. And as you have heard from Hollywood Reporter, it talks here in the article saying that Jenna Ortega says women should have their own franchises where she doesn't. She's quoted saying, "I don't want Jamie Bond." You know, in other words, she doesn't want the wokeness out there going ahead and just take over all the different IPs that as we've seen before. Now, we're also witnessing a shift, a moment where the woke agenda, which even Jenna Ortega seems to reject, is finally being challenged by the very people who matter the most, which is, well, the audience. All right. Now, Jenna Ortega isn't just another actress. Okay. See, Jenna Ortega is a symbol of hope in an industry that has lost its way, no glaze and everything. Now, this isn't happening overnight. It's been building up, and the cracks in the system itself are starting to show right now, okay? So take the gaming industry, for example. There was a game called Concord that took 8 long years to develop, and within just 13 days, it flopped. And that's a big sign right there, people. A sign that consumers are fed up with mediocrity and woke agendas being shoved down their throats, something that Jenna Ortega clearly understands. And this same fatigue that Jenna Ortega likely senses is now spreading to Hollywood. Now, we're going to also talk about Jenna Ortega and Jenna Ortega's upcoming role in the Beetlejuice sequel. You see, Jenna Ortega is the star, and I have to say, I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. You know, unlike the endless stream of woke garbage that's coming out in Hollywood and stuff, this movie with Jenna Ortega at the helm at least actually looks like it might be good. And why is that? Because Jenna Ortega's project isn't trying to preach or push a certain agenda, or at least we hope so, or think so far. It's trying to do what movies are supposed to do, entertain. And Jenna Ortega understands that, and it shows in her work. You see, she's not just going along with the woke mob. Jenna Ortega is actually taking a stand. Now, we're going to talk about Wednesday, the show that Jenna Ortega got her put on the map. Wednesday was a massive hit, and it's no surprise why, given that Jenna Ortega was the star. It wasn't bogged down by social justice messaging or even gender politics, okay? It was just a good show all around, and plain and simple, much like Jenna Ortega herself, straightforward and focused. And now Jenna Ortega is starring in the Beetlejuice sequel, a film that all signs point to doing well at the box office so far. Why? Because it's not trying to push a certain agenda, or at least we haven't heard so far. It's just trying to be a good movie, much like Jenna Ortega's approach into her career. And that's actually something that we've been, sorely lacking in Hollywood, what led to a lot of celebrities to leave Hollywood. You see, Jenna Ortega, in my opinion at least, is a breath of fresh air in an industry that's been suffocating under the weight of its own self-righteousness. You see, when Jenna Ortega was, asked about, ridiculous trend of gender swap remakes, she didn't mince words in that article that I showed you. You see, Jenna Ortega said, "I don't want to be Jamie Bond. Why can't we have our own franchises?" And Jenna Ortega is actually absolutely right. If women have their own franchises, men may even go watch it. You see, Hollywood doesn't need to hijack existing franchises and twist them into something that they're not. We don't need a female James Bond. We need new original stories that respect the audience's intelligence and the desire for quality entertainment. And that's something that Jenna Ortega is clearly advocating for. We're also going to delve into how, using Jenna Ortega's perspective as our guide. You see, there's been a push mainly from woke activists, not actual fans, to turn James Bond into Jamie Bond. But here's the thing. James Bond is an iconic character, a man's man who's been resonated with audiences for decades, with the exception of the Daniel Craig James Bond recently. And Jenna Ortega gets that. The character's name is James, not Jamie. If Hollywood wants to make a female spy movie, they can go ahead and do it. And I'm sure Jenna Ortega would agree, but what they don't want to do is put the work into creating a new character with a new story. They just want to go ahead and take an established franchise and IP with a built-in audience and use it as a vehicle for their woke agenda. And that shows that they lack creativity. And what happens when they do that? The audience, real fans, give them the middle finger and just simply walk away, something that Jenna Ortega likely foresees. Okay. And another thing is, it's not just James Bond. Look what's happening with the upcoming Snow White movie, and to consider what Jenna Ortega might think about it. It hasn't even been released yet, and it's already facing massive backlash. Okay, not only is it facing backlash, much like Jenna Ortega's stance against gender swap roles. Now, over 1 million dislikes on YouTube for the Snow White trailer. People are actually tired of being told what they sound, what should like, what they're tired of being forced to fed these woke remakes that nobody asked for. And woke Hollywood is starting to notice, and that's why they tried to get rid of the dislike button, because it just shows how fed up people are with this nonsense, something that Jenna Ortega seems to be recognizing right now. Okay. But then there's also numbers, okay? Numbers, keeping Jenna Ortega in mind as we do. Look at this. With Deadpool and Wolverine, these movies are smashing it at the box office at $600 million domestically, climbing over $1.2 billion globally. And why? Because they're fun, much like Jenna Ortega and her approach to her projects. They're not trying to preach a particular message. They're just trying to go ahead and entertain something that, Jenna Ortega knows audiences crave. And Jenna Ortega is simply doing her job. And people want to watch movies that are enjoyable, especially ones with Jenna Ortega, not movies that lecture them about how they should think. And it's clear as day that audiences are voting with their wallets, and they're voting against the woke agenda, something that Jenna Ortega is actually proud of. Okay. But the problem isn't just limited to movies. You see, we're seeing backlash in TV shows and even in video games. And Jenna Ortega's influence is felt here too. Look at the Acolyte, for example. No one's tuning in. Why? Because it's more of the same woke garbage that people are sick of, something that Jenna Ortega probably agree with. And this year, more than any other, should be a wake-up call to Hollywood. You see, the message is clear. Enough is enough with the woke messaging, and Jenna Ortega seems to be at the forefront of this movement, and people are actually enjoying Jenna Ortega even more. Even actors like Jenna Ortega are starting to push back. With Matt Smith, respected actor, recently spoke out against, the over-policing of stories in Hollywood. And that's something that Jenna Ortega and her actions align with. Now, he's tired of seeing trigger warnings slapped on everything, tired of seeing creativity stifled by the fear of offending someone. And he's right. You see, much like Jenna Ortega. And we're living in a time when even Aladdin, a wholesome, family-friendly movie, got a trigger warning on Disney Plus. And what kind of a world do we live in when a movie like Aladdin is considered problematic? Something Jenna Ortega would surely find absurd. Okay. And much like us, because of the fact that Jenna Ortega seems to be based on this kind of stuff. But this is the state of woke Hollywood, people. And Jenna Ortega is a key player in this discussion. The woke agenda is taking over and is driving the industry into the ground. But there's hope, thanks to Jenna Ortega, who represents that hope. And people like Jenna Ortega, Matt Smith, and others are starting to speak out even more. And they're saying that what the things that we've been thinking. Hollywood needs to stop pandering to the woke crowd and start focusing on what really matters, making good entertainment, just like Jenna Ortega does. And let's not forget about the whole financial implications of wokeism, of all of this, which Jenna Ortega is, I'm definitely sure, aware of. You see, Hollywood is business, and businesses need to make money to survive. Now, when you alienate your core audience with woke remakes and agenda-driven storytelling, you're not just making a bad movie, you're making a bad business decision as well. Something that Jenna Ortega likely understands. And if you also look at the financial success of movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, these films are cleaning up at the box office because they're giving the audience what they want. Fun, entertaining stories without the preachiness of the woke agenda, much like what Jenna Ortega and her projects are doing right now. Okay. But let's also get real for a moment. You see, especially in the context of Jenna Ortega and her career. You see, the woke agenda isn't just bad for business. It's bad for the culture too. It's eroding the foundations of storytelling, diluting the impact of classic characters, as well as franchises by the shoehorning in political messaging that doesn't even belong there. Now, when you turn James Bond into Jamie Bond, a female, you're not just making a creative decision, a bad creative decision. You're making a statement that the original character wasn't good enough as he was. And that's a slap in the face to the fans who supported this franchise for years, as well as the author of the books that it's based on. And that's something that Jenna Ortega is also likely against. So let's be honest here. We need to go ahead and stand up and say enough is enough. Keep doing that, much like Jenna Ortega is doing. And we need to support movies, shows, and games that respect the audience's intelligence and desire for quality entertainment. We also need to back creators like Jenna Ortega who are willing to take the risks and tell original stories, not those who are content to rehash old ideas with the woke twist. Okay. And we got to keep making our voices known and heard, and let's follow the example set by Jenna Ortega. Let's show Hollywood that we're done with the woke remakes. We're done with the gender swap nonsense, and we're also done with the woke agenda-driven storytelling. Okay, we're going to also continue to support the movies and shows that entertain us, that bring us joy, that remind us of why we fell in love with the movies in the first place, just like Jenna Ortega does with her work. And let's also hope that more people in Hollywood start to wake up and realize that if they want to succeed, they need to get back to the basics, much like what Jenna Ortega is doing. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you may have this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.